Alright guys, I hate to break it to you, but I lied. Last video I said I was going to be working on the downpipes, but I started to work on the downpipes and then I stopped. So I was going to try to reuse my old V-bands. These were just MIG welded onto aluminized pipe, so it was all kind of rusty. So you could say I went through and I tried to like clean it up and, you know, make it look decent. But I just decided that I wasn't happy with that. So I ended up ordering the V-bands. So I'm waiting on the V-bands, the actual VS Racing, you know, downpipe V-bands. I did end up finding a different V-band on eBay that I use for the inlets, and those kind of work, but they're not really like an exact fit, but they should be okay, I hope. And then these, you can see my dilemma with the V-bands that I did end up getting. They're not really the exact size, and I did clamp this on and it fits really loose and still moves around, so I just needed to get the right V-band. I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't reuse these with how dirty they are and stuff, and like trying to make everything look decent. It didn't make sense to put a crappy looking V-band on there. So today we're going to work on something different. So what I have here is these standoffs, and I got these from Monkey Fab. So these are two M8 by 125 aluminum blind hole standoffs. 27 bucks for 4 of them shipped. And blind hole means that it has a stopper on the back side of it, so it's not a complete through hole. So if you're welding it to like an intercooler end tank or something else, you don't have to worry about running the bolt through it and poking a hole in your intercooler. My plan with this is to come off the bottom of the intercooler and then run that standoff off the side of the pipe here, and then just to keep this thing from kind of wobbling around, I do have the flex joint quick clamp here, and then I also have the quick disconnect clamp up on top, but that kind of allows this thing to, well, I don't have this tightened right now, but it allows this thing to pivot a lot inside of there. I know it does seemingly remove the quick disconnect capability, but just 2 bolts on there shouldn't be too bad. And then I still won't have to deal with hose clamps. I feel like just running a bolt out is going to be easier than dealing with a hose clamp or whatever. So I guess I didn't really weigh the impact of putting 2 of those quick connect clamps on there and that piece being so loose. It was just in my head it was going to be different than it ended up being, so this is just a correction for it. Alright, so I did get those little standoffs welded on. Now I'm going to use these little brackets that I cut. It's just some flat plate that I'm going to bend and make a little bracket to hold the pipe on. I'm just going to do something like this. I'll bend enough of this that I can actually drill a hole here. And then I'll bend this thing down, and hopefully that's long enough to be able to work. So I just kind of guessed on the length, so let's see what we got. Alright, so I'm going to recut these brackets. I ended up bending one of them. I bent it too far, and then I tried to bend it back and it snapped off, and when it snapped I sliced my hand open pretty good. So I'm having a really rough time doing this thing. I stuck the tungsten into my leg yesterday right after a weld. Right through my pants, right into my leg, so it looked like I have a belly button on my leg now because it just cauterized the hole shut. So I'm definitely having a rough time with this. So I'm going to recut, bend it, not bend it as far. Alright, so I'm going to try something a little bit different. I'm going to mock this up, and then I'll use a little piece of a welding rod. It's an aluminum welding rod to kind of bend the angle, get the angle that I need. There, so that should be about what I need for that piece. So then I'll just bend it like that. Another thing I did on accident when I was welding the pipe, I had the intercooler behind me when I was welding it. I had it kind of standing up, and I dropped the standoff because I was trying to hold it with my hand. So it got hot on my hand, so I lifted my hand off, dropped this on the ground. I bent down on the ground to pick it up, bumped the intercooler, knocked the intercooler over, and then I dented the flange here. So this flange, I had to pound it back out because it was like flat on this side. So hopefully I got it pounded back out right, and it's round enough that it still seals. But yeah, a seemingly simple job, it's just not cooperating. Sometimes you have those days, like sometimes stuff just goes really smooth, and sometimes something just stupid, like simple welding standoffs on and make a little bracket. I cut my hand, I poke myself with the tungsten, flatten this thing. Sometimes you just have those days. All right, so there's kind of the basic idea. I got the 2 brackets on there all bolted in. This thing is really sturdy now, so that's awesome. I'm just going to throw it in and test it. I might have to drill these holes a little bit bigger just to get the position correct, because I think I have to rotate this a piece a little bit just to get everything to line up. Should do exactly what I needed. It's just to stabilize it and keep it from kind of rocking around when I'm driving. Okay, so I got that thing all hooked up and back in there now. I did go ahead and take these brackets on the belt sander and cleaned up the corners, got rid of the sharp edges. This pipe is looking pretty dirty just from handling it a whole bunch. But that's kind of what it looks like. Got the 2 brackets. The quick connect is actually centered pretty decent. I think what I'm going to do differently here though is I'm going to put some rubber washers behind this, because I don't need it to be tight. I just need it to be snug so it's not swinging around. So I might put some rubber washers in here just so there's a little bit of play between the pipe and the bracket, and that would help center this thing, and just so it's not pushing it to the side and contributing to a leak. Hopefully that doesn't leak, because this is the one that I smashed on the ground and flattened too. So hopefully I got it straight enough, or round enough, I mean. But yeah, I do have the tracking number for the V-band, so that should be here in a couple days. So next time, guys, next time, I promise, we'll be doing downpipes.